Dr. Karo Ogbinaka will talk about it. He joins us now. He's the chairman of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, UNILAC chapter. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's interesting what we have in our hands now, because 7 weeks is a long time. Any progress made? Because we hear that may be the case.
Let me put it this way. We are having conversation.
In conversation.
Yeah.
With who? Federal government, Labour?
With the federal government.
Parties? Will you tell us?
And both parties. And we're making some progress. There are not things that we'll hide.
Okay.
For example, we also saw the Senate work on it after 3 years. And it's a good development. I'm sure the whole thing has to do with commitment, integrity and trust. If as of 2009 we had seen the processes in place, perhaps there would have been no need for this strike. Because we've got into the aspect of implementation. And I will put it this way, is some of the problems we have is a holistic problem. You saw the 1 week about national strike and protests. And one of the problems people were having was that, what do we have to show as Nigerians? If we had good educational system, good health system, good roads, then you begin to compare us that Ghana has removed, we'll tell you remove too. But these things were not there. And so when the doctors, lecturers, people from various social sectors put pressure on government, they are in a way helping government, because those are the things people want to look at. When somebody begins to boast that I am my own local government, I pay my children, they go to private school, they don't go to public school, then why are you there? Then the integrity is not there, the trust is not there. I want to encourage the federal government to really address the university problem. And let Nigeria be known for one good thing in West Africa. I want a situation where the Ghanaian, the Senegalese, the Liberian will want to school in the Nigerian university. And I think we can do it.
Isn't that how ASUU can help the federal government? Because if the ministry has not conducted any research to find out why Nigerians living, where are they going?
I monitored the Minister of Education speak at the Federal Polytechnic at Awushi, and she did mention infrastructure, poor infrastructure in the universities, polytechnics across the session. She did mention the problem of funding. So it's a problem ASUU raised, and I'm sure government, they are quite aware of it now.
I was going to ask, when will this conversation finally come to an end and we can begin to see the fruits and students can go back to school?
Yeah, I call it conversation because if we use the word negotiation, that means we will not sign an agreement. It will end as soon as we've seen the processes in place. For example, if after finishing this problem of a retirement age, then the JAMB amendment bill is being processed. We don't expect the House of Assembly to process everything in one day, the National Assembly. We want to see the JAMB bill put in place so that tomorrow the same Senate will not come to say, scrap post-UME or don't scrap post-UME. These were things that we saw, and we make suggestions that look, we have to harmonize the admission laws in this country. And when you put it in cooler until there's another strike, then you are not helping the system.
Well, are we likely, sorry to butt in there, are we likely to see an end to all of this? Because if we take from what we saw yesterday, the move by the Senate, some say it's a big plus, and that is one of the demands of the union, isn't it?
Let me be a little philosophical here. Everything that has a beginning must have an end. So it's not an ending strike. One good thing about the whole thing is that there seems to be a time frame to wrap up everything. And I'm sure they are working within the time frame.
Yeah, but if you look at the one that the Senate approved recently, there are those who will criticize it, saying, well, yes, you are supposed to be fighting for the cause of the university, but how does retirement age add to that? I mean, what about the upcoming land? Do you want them to fit into the system?
We've always tried to explain this thing. When the professor retires, it doesn't create room for anybody within the system and outside the system. You see, for example, I'm a senior lecturer. There was a time we didn't have any professor in my department. They won't say because you are a senior lecturer, we are moving you up. the system doesn't work that way. You will have to meet the requisite standard in terms of publication and quality. So you discover that if a professor is, for example, retired today, they won't go to the street to employ somebody. Within the department, you won't move the next person and say, you are now the next professor. It's not done that way. Some departments, since they were established in the University of Lagos, you've not had a professor. In some areas in the country, you probably have only 2-3 professors. There were some departments that had as much as 8 professors. And the professors, they retired almost the same time. And those departments have been struggling to produce new ones.
And when they retired, it wasn't as if they were not useful anymore to the department.
You see, there's no unemployed professor. That is the point we're making. If you retire a professor today in Unilag, you probably will see him back to Unilag on the contract, receiving the same salary and receiving double salary, or you see him in any of these new universities or any of another federal university. And what people are saying is that, look, if government has given us so much, let us put in our own sacrifice. So it's like sacrifice from the union. Because the first agreement we had, that is 2000 agreement, it's clearly stated that if you have served as a professor consistently for 15 years, you'll be paid your salary for life. So giving them added 5 years is part of the give and take. And that is why you see the government is not even complaining about that. You see, these negotiations for this agreement, 2009 agreement started in 2006. So negotiations took place for 3 years before they were signed. And every detail was discussed, argued. All the dialectics were involved. So the point I want to make people know is that even within the system, retiring professors don't help. But why did we choose this path? We said only for those in professorial cadre. But if you look at that of the other unions, they say for everybody. So a cleaner, a driver, probably going to work till 65. We're not going to speak from that aspect. Let us concentrate on our aspect. But as a senior lecturer, if I don't become professor by 65, I retire out of the system. But professors are the ones who provide leadership at the faculty, at the department. They are the ones who moderate promotions for themselves, and as well as bulk of postgraduate work. Maybe senior lecturers do assist them.
Professor Ogbinaka, Dr. Ogbinaka, is it taken into cognizance the physical capacity of those people to be able to carry out their functions at that particular age?
I usually put it this way, and you may find it funny. Most of us, when we enter the public service, we do not enter, we have a way of manipulating our ages. Probably you will see that a lot of people you see that call themselves 50, they're probably 60. And so this thing too is going to check such attitude, such approach to things. In most countries, you see, the university is a funny system. You have provision for emeritus. So somebody like Tam David West, he's still there, it's functioning well. If you bring Esquatoya here today, it's close to his 90s and 100. It still speaks sound. So really, if by 70, if you are still not senile, the system will still retain you.
But if you are,
of course, at 70, they ask you to go.
Well, anyway, I think we.
But you know, sometimes faculties use name. When you know that, if for example there is a Chikobi in your faculty, even though it's 100, people give that university that respect. If there's a Bertrand Russell in your faculty, if there's an Albert Einstein in your faculty, even though it's 100, people will still visit that faculty to have interaction with the scholars.
So
that is the thing. The library of a professor is in his head. He moves with it and he dies with it.
Well, most students have been asking questions, and with all of this, they say one of the demands have been met by the Senate. I think they would want to know when ASUU would likely call off the strike.
And
since it's not an unending one.
We are on it. I'll put it this way. And two, there are some landmarks we've put in place, and that is why I say we're making progress. If in the next few days 1 or 2 things are sorted out, the union will, if it were an NLC, the national president will have just announced the strike off. What we will have to meet, NEC will have to meet, all the chairpersons will have to meet, take reports and all that.
So even it's possible we may be looking at in the next 7 days, possibly.
Well, let us go by the words of the minister.
Which of them now?
The Minister of Labour, yeah. He assured us that by end of January, the strikes will be called off.
Sorry, maybe some clarification.
I want to begin to trust government.
Dr. Ogbinaka, some clarifications here. Anyway, because one of all the demands also of ASUU was also the deplorable state of the universities. And does that fall under the purview of the Minister of Labour or the Minister of Education?
It falls under the way government operates is that the funds for education is given to education. Education will give its own fund to say, NUC, you manage university, take. You manage Polytechnic Board, take. You understand? And so it boils down to funding. And if consistently government have been releasing funds to intervene and the type of intervention fund, the union will not go on strike. People, even students, will have been seeing remark improvements and there and there, but it's not been happening. And that is where we have problem. It's not been happening. For example, the Minister of Education recently said he just brought in some equipment for laboratories worth 51 billion naira that is going to be distributed across schools. If we have been seeing this type of thing over the years, perhaps we will have gotten to where we wanted to be. And sometimes we will talk about what I would call contradictory government policies. You say you don't have money, you are establishing new universities. And we begin to ask questions. Is it really that you don't have money?
But it's the same lecturers who go to those universities to go and lecture.
Well, it is human. It is human. If you put a university in my village, for example, and you call it a federal university, a villagers will come and meet me and say, do you want our own to die?
Yeah, but
and if you don't go see a wicked man. And again, too, people want promotion. If a new university is established, and they need professors at all costs. You are a senior lecturer, it's a federal university, you're going to be paid the same thing. So why should I punish myself staying at the University of Lagos?
So they make you a professor?
I go to be a professor, yes. So it's normal. And if I'm a professor and they say, look, this new university, you are going to be the founding VC.
But how does that help standards?
That is the problem. That is the point the union is making in terms of principle. That is wrong. That is the point the university.
Can't the union come up with some sort of regulation?
That is government policy.
To guard themselves. Say,
it's part of the agreement.
Like this.
It's there in the agreement that they should make a law putting standard that for a university to take off, you must have X, Y standard. And this is how universities should be appraised. It is there in the agreement.
What about for a lecturer to go from that place to another university? I mean, that's within his own rights.
Well, you see, some people want to be, I may choose to be a University of Lagos professor. I may choose to be a professor that is acclaimed worldwide. So it depends on the individual. Some people want to say that what I'm bothered about my salary, my title, and all that. But some people want to say that, look, I want to be known all over the world based on my research, my publication, and the institution I'm affiliated to.
What about the members of ASUU improving themselves? Because there are those who talk about lecturers not meeting deadlines set by themselves to submit certain scripts, even after the strike is called off. And so, university system, not just about passing, in terms of the entire students, do lecturers meet up with the standards they set?
Let me put it this way. University is an integrative system. You see, lecturers, when the admission process starts, you discover that you teach 2 students today, tomorrow 5 new ones will join, the next day 10, so you don't have a full class. That is for year 1 student. That problem is always there because of the admission system. You also have the problem of managing your time between postgraduate class and undergraduate class, and you have problem of large classes and fewer hands. So you have to contend with all these problems. Of course, we have ethical questions too. We have ethical questions. People who feel that, look, this country, just take it the way you see it. We have lecturers who are like that too. But we try to address these things. But you see, you are handicapped, because if we have a pool of lecturers there in town, we have a pool of candidates, qualified people in town, you can easily flush out the bad ones and bring in people who are ready to work. But sometimes institutions are bothered with all these things that, okay, if we remove this man, now who do we bring in? So these are contending issues. But if the environment is conducive, definitely people will want to come and you want to protect your job.